And I'm alive. And today I don't have Clint. I have Nick Battle from Nino's Corner. How you doing, Nick?
What's going on, man?
And I have Landon Holyfield from Lando Show. How you doing, Lando?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having us.
Hey, just wanted to get you guys' opinion again. Clint's in Orlando, Florida still. You guys provide great content on YouTube continuously. And I just want to talk ball with brothers today. Pretty much get you guys spin on the ULM game. What you thought about it, specific players. We'll get talking about that. We'll talk about a little bit of defense. Quinn Ewers, first start as the quarterback at the University of Texas. Jatavian Sanders, Overshown, Sorrell, amongst other things. But just excited to have you guys in here. And so I'll start with you, Nick. Your overall assessment of Texas' performance yesterday against University of Louisiana Monroe.
Man, hey, I loved it. Just the line play, just the trenches, man. The offensive line provided a lot of protection for Quinn. He didn't get rushed too much, which was really good to see. The defensive line, the pressure that they provided, having like a Sorrell have like a sack and a half, having Coburn have a sack as well, man. I mean, that was amazing to see some good push from the line and the depth at the line as well. So, having Coburn start, and then having a guy like Murphy come behind them, Broughton, coming also, Ojimo, all of them played really well. A lot of push from the D line. That was amazing, man.
Yeah. And Lando, your quick assessment on what you saw yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're going to have plenty of time to break down a bunch of different angles and attack this based on what the chat box is saying. But, man, seeing Quinn was obviously fun. The Flo Broski, Morgan Ballin, right? We were all anticipating that. So I know we're going to dive deep into that. But the way he was able to just recover from really his first two passes being interceptable, the second one actually was. And we're seeing what Steve Sarkisian talked about, just the short memory. You can tell. Calm, cool, and collected. I love seeing that from my quarterback. That was great. The second thing is we're already seeing some stuff kind of surface from the Twitter sphere, right, of some off the ball stuff happening with our receiver group. I remember Coach Marion was one of the most just things that I was most pumped to see this offseason. The way that he talks, the way that he teaches, and his mantra, right, is the way that you play without the ball determines how much you love your teammates. And we saw that clip of Casey Kane. If you haven't seen it, I can try to retweet that so that you can hit my Twitter or whatever and go watch it. But completely eliminating defenders from the play. Same thing with Jordan Whittington. Just those guys, they obviously want to play football, man. You can tell how much they love their teammates, and just by the way that they're attacking the dirty work, right? Just getting after people in the blocking game, creating space for their playmakers like Bijan to go and do their thing, right? The young offensive lineman looked good from what I saw. Kelvin Banks kind of got nicked up, so I held my breath there for a second, but he was able to come right back in the game, thank goodness. And then I tweeted about this last night too, man. Sorrell jumps off the screen. Same thing with Jalen Gilbeau, as advertised, right? Flying off the edge. I saw Ryan Watts in the box, containing the edge and tackling in space like no problem. Just seeing that type of thing, playing fast to the football, defense just rallying and attacking. That was fun. Something that we're not really used to seeing, right? It's just second year with the system under PK, guys getting more familiar. You can kind of see that start to pay dividends. So those are just my quick takeaways.
Love that, Landon. And there's a couple things I'm going to bring up about what you talked about. And that was the touch of the shoulder. You're a pitcher by trade, right?
Yeah.
The pitching coach comes out to the mound, right, and he puts his hand on the pitcher's shoulder.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of that when Quinn came to the sideline after that interception, and Sark put his hand on his shoulder and says, "Hey, man, keep your head in there. You're going to get another opportunity." Yep. That was one thing that stuck out to me. And then you talked about the receivers and their run blocking ability.
Yes.
So I got into PFF early this morning. Thank goodness for those guys. They produced that stuff awfully quick. I can't get to the game till 11 o'clock on Longhorn Network to get a rewatch.
Yeah.
But these guys already have PFF grades. And I wanted to go look at offensive line and run blocking as a focus. I said I was going to focus on offensive and defensive line during this game, and I'm going to continue to do that next week against Alabama because that's just the areas of focus, right? Because we understand the skill position guys that we have
always
on the
been there
football
for us, for sure.
So let's look at the trenches, right?
Yep,
and
absolutely.
So the first two names that popped up with the highest run blocking grades from PFF were the guys you mentioned, Casey Kane and Jordan Whittington.
Was it
like you say, doing the dirty work, right? Doing the dirty work. If you don't have the football, play for your brother, right? Play for the guy next to you. That's that culture that they're trying to create down there in the 40 acres, and it's manifested. It manifested in the first game. We'll see what happens when they get punched in the mouth. They didn't really get punched in the mouth, I would
Right.
say yesterday,
Right.
But they are definitely going to get punched in the mouth next Saturday, and let's see how they react to that. But two really good points that you made. So I'm going to go back to you, Nino, and I really like that. What'd you call him? Morgan Ballin. His first start at the University of Texas, like we said, he had a rough first series, got his stuff together, and at one point he was 7 for 7 after throwing that interception. Threw for 225 yards in essentially 2.5 quarters. One play that we didn't see that folks are probably a little bit upset about is you didn't see Xavier Worthy. There was 3 shots, 3 misses. But Nino, your quick assessment on Quinn Ewers' first start at the University of Texas.
All right, guys, I'm not gonna lie. When he threw those first 2 balls, I was like, "Oh my God, oh man, don't say it ain't so, say it ain't so." But hey, like you say, Sark comes and gets him, pats him on the shoulder. You can tell he's like, "Hey man, calm down. This is you, right? This is your team. This is your team, right?" And so from that second drive on, it was flawless, man. The only thing that he didn't get was just that deep ball. But that's gonna come. He's actually looking for it, right? So like everybody sees him looking for that pass. I just think after throwing those first 2 bad balls, he wasn't throwing it with the timing for those deep balls, so he was kind of waiting for the guys to get open instead of just trusting after that point. But, I think that was more of him just not wanting to make any more mistakes. But hey, play it safe, check down, get to your open guys, and get to JT Sanders, which is I'm pretty sure you guys are going to talk about that, also, but get to JT Sanders, who was a freaking monster tonight. Quinn looked really good, man. It was his first start, folks, since his junior year of high school. So we got to just kind of remember that this kid hasn't played really in 18 months, So, hey, awesome all the way around from him.
Yep.
And Lando, your thoughts on Quinn?
Yeah, real quick. So he brought up a great point about what we've already both, I think, referenced, the way that Steve kind of just approached Quinn after that mistake happened, right? Puts his hand on his shoulder. It reminded me of last year. I was actually lucky enough to be at the Cotton Bowl against OU. I think Xavier Worthy had some fumble on a special teams play. I don't remember exactly what it was, but in the post-game presser, right, Sark talks about exactly what went down. And, he walks right over to Xavier Worthy, puts his hand around his arm and says, "Hey man, let me get a smile." Right? Just let me get a smile. Everything is going to be okay. You're allowed to mess up, right? You're a playmaker. You're going to make plays. Go get them when your number is called again. And then what did he do? That deep post route that set him up after we had gone down. I think that got us in the position for him to catch the either game tying or maybe the go ahead touchdown late in the game, right? So the moral of the story is, because of Sark's coachability and teachability, right, it was cool to see that immediately pay dividends and watch Xavier Worthy flush it and go make 2 big plays and give us at least a chance to go back and win that game again. So I think he just exudes confidence, and it's starting to carry over in what the mentality is that Quinn Ewers carries and possesses. All of his teammates believing in him, and he's a gunslinger, man. He's gonna make those mistakes, but he's gonna bounce back and he's gonna learn from them. So I think we definitely saw that as well. And then there was one other thing that I had that I want to make sure I don't miss. So the play when he flushed out the pocket left, right, and he's got JT to his left, so he obviously knows that. But he's not only is he aware of the line of scrimmage, he still has the wherewithal to pump fake, right, to keep the defender honest, and then the athleticism to kind of flip it out of the corner of his eye through his peripheral vision to JT. And that's the type of stuff that's not a freshman play. That's a guy that's out there that's playing loose, playing free, and playing confident with using that arm talent off platform, all that type of thing, right? So we're already starting to see that. And then once he's able to really just be confident at the back, the top of his drop in the pocket, hitting those deep balls, when guys are sailing stuff early on in their career, that's just the pregame jitters kind of getting to you, right? You got nerves, that extra adrenaline, you're flowing. That's just like me when I come into the game and I haven't pitched in a while, or my first time back rehabbing from an injury, I'm up and away, arm side high, just out there ripping it, right? So it's just you got to kind of dial it back a little bit and let your practice and your preparation kind of take over. So that's just what I saw, man. I think we're seeing all the characteristics that that give him that 1.000 perfect high school recruiting ranking, right? We're seeing all the type of stuff, the traits that allow that to happen. So I just can't wait to see him continue to grow.
And I think the most important thing you guys talked about it was the being comfortable after in your first game since your junior year of high school at South Lake Carroll, and you didn't allow it to get in your own head. And I think that's the difference between QB1 and QB2. Is QB1 makes a mistake and he is able to just relax, rely on his talent, play loose, hit the check downs. And whereas QB2, I think, gets in his own head. His clock goes a little bit quick, you know, and he forces himself to take sacks or
somewhat
get the team behind the chains.
Exactly.
Get the team behind the chains.
Yeah.
But yeah, and trust in your check downs. Trust in that when you get 0 the ball, when you get 5 the ball, whether it's 2 or 3 yards from the line of scrimmage, 8's the same way. Casey Kane busted a big one. That was nothing but they were selling the run to the right. He flips it back over to the left. It's Casey Kane one-on-one. He beats the corner and down the sidelines he goes. But that was a 1-yard completion that turned into a 43-yard completion. So get the ball to your playmakers. Let them make plays. Again, that deep shot was the one piece we were missing. But with time, I think that's going to come, especially if you loosen up that underneath and guys got to come up. You know, they were playing 3 safeties most of the game, you know, just kind of clog and cover. And that's why those deep shots weren't always there.
Right.
And Sanders and Bijan are a great, like I say, safety valve to get the ball to move the ball down the field. Gunnar Helm with the clutch third down catch.
Gunnar Helm.
3 for 3 on 4th down. You know, just when you needed guys to make plays, they made plays. All right, Nino, for you, Louisiana guy.
Yeah.
There was a kid, number 88, that I called out in our defensive line preview, our edge preview, and said he's going to be my breakout player of the year, Mr. Baron Sorrell. And it's kind of easy for me to call him that because I watched what he did at the last couple of games of the regular season last year with limited playing time. I saw what he did in the spring game, and I called him out. I said 88, and we had lucky enough. Barry was in his father was in our chat the other day, threw us a $2 super chat and said, watch out for 88. watch out for 88. So he confirmed it, right? So I'm going to ask you, there was a lot of names got thrown around last night by Lola Galindo on the telecast about great rush defenders from Texas past. What's the potential? What did you see in 88 last night? And what do you think the potential is for him this season, maybe long-term, as he's only a sophomore?
Man, he's going to be great. But first off, let me track back and talk about Quinn one more time. You know, I got to give Sark his props, man, because he called a game plan that put him in positions to have 3rd and short a lot more than he did last year. You know, last year against ULL, I think we were in 3rd and long like 5 or 6 times, and we converted 3rd and long 6 times. We converted 3rd and long, which was 7 yards or more, 5 times, which you do not want that to happen. This year, we had 3rd and long 1 out of the 15 third downs that we had, which is amazing. And we still converted that. But 3rd and short, you know, which is 3 yards and under, we had 3rd and short 4 times, and we converted all those as well. And out of those 4 times, 3 of them were pass plays. You know, so he put Quinn in excellent, excellent, like places to be successful on 3rd down. You know, so he started off with the run, started off with passes that made him comfortable. And you know, having a guy like Quinn Ewers, this is a guy who has been training at the QB position pretty much his whole life. So this is easy for him. I'm not saying that the game is easy, but playing quarterback is fun for him. This is second nature for him. So that's why when you see him running down and he looks like he doesn't care, it's not that he doesn't care. It's just he's been doing this his whole life.
Loose.
This is what he does, right? Like this is seamless for him, you know. So that's just one thing. Hey, Sark's game plan was great last night. Great adjustments last night as well. And honestly, folks, it was good to see that pick happen early because the script was done then. The script was done. What are we doing now? And we saw great adjustments throughout the whole first half, and Quinn had a hell of a game.
And to that point, feel adversity before you have to feel it on the biggest schedule next weekend on Saturday against the -- 1 team in the country, right? Feel that type of adversity and be able to bounce back. You know, that was, like you're saying, that couldn't have been a better thing for him to experience. That's why they call it a tune-up, right?
Yep.
But hey, I got a question off your point for Quinn, and then we'll go to Barron. You talked about Sark's game plan being Quinn friendly and being able to be in 3rd and short and being ahead of the chains, essentially putting yourself in good positions to move the football.
Being efficient.
I'm not going to beat up Cade Brewer and Jared Wiley, but I'm going to beat up Cade Brewer and Jared Wiley. Do you think Jatavian Sanders' ability to get open underneath with his playmaking ability is also a part of that? Like, there was probably quarterback friendly routes last year for the tight ends, but they just weren't executed because of the level of athlete that you had playing the position. Because I've said it, he is definitely the most athletic tight end that we have had since Jermichael Finley, no doubt in my mind.
No question.
Easy.
No
Yeah,
question.
Definitely. That is a big portion of it. Having the guy who's a 5-star talent who pretty much played wide out, in high school where he was just one-handing balls and everything. And Sark has already said, hey, this guy has the best hands on the team, runs the best routes on the team, right? And this is a guy who's 250 pounds, 255 pounds or so. I mean, just think about that for a minute, folks.
Yeah.
This guy's a 250-pound, 19-year-old kid who runs the best routes on the team that has guys like Xavier Worthy on there, Bijan Robinson on there, Jaden Blue, who runs really good routes for a running back, Jordan Whittington, even Isaiah Nayer at the time. This team has pretty damn good wide receivers and running backs in this team. Ajay Hall, who was the number 1 wide receiver in the country coming out of high school. And this guy, a 250-pound tight end, JT Sanders, runs the best routes and has best hand, has the best hands in the team. So having a guy like JT Sanders on the team, being able to open up the field, and we've talked about this, right, Jeremy? We've talked about this plenty of times. Having a guy like him that can stretch the field, because he does have some decent speed as well, great hands, runs really good routes, it opens up everything. Bijan was not getting touched in the backfield because the box wasn't stuffed. It was just beautiful. It was beautiful to see a tight end who could run more than 5 or 6 yards and turn around and wait for the ball.
And this was Lando's guy to profile. So I'm going to skip a little bit ahead.
He covered all the bases up there.
So in the pregame, our little warm up, I told these guys, hey, I'm gonna pick a guy from Louisiana for you to talk about because that's Nino's background, right? And that's Baron Sorrell. And I told Lando, I was like, hey, you're from the Metroplex. I want you to cover JT Sanders.
Yeah.
But me and Nino just kind of got on a roll there with JT Sanders. So I'm gonna give you somebody else. I'm gonna think here for a second and give you somebody else from the Metroplex. Because I know that Nino can talk very well about Baron Sorrell in Louisiana. And
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do it.
And you're gonna do that. and then I want you to talk about another kid from the southeast portion of Texas that played at Port Arthur Memorial. A young kid, number 13, Jalen Gilbeau. Well, I think about who I'm going to throw to Lando.
All right. Yeah. So let's talk about Baron Sorrell real quick, man, because I totally had to go off on a whole different tangent. You guys know how I am. I'm kind of, just all over the place when it comes to the team. But hey, man, Baron Sorrell, man, 1.5 sacks. I thought it was 2 sacks, but actually, was it 2? Okay,
I gave him 2.
I gave him
2.
So, okay, 2 sacks, folks. He had in one game with the most sacks by any Texas player last year across a whole season. All right, so think about that for a minute. In one game, Baron Sorrell had more sacks than any player in Texas last year. I think it was Ben Davis had 2 sacks, or was it 2.5 sacks? One of the two. Either or. 2.5 sacks, 2 sacks. This guy had 2 sacks in one game. Hey, man, he's a game changer. And it's good to see that he has been in the program for a year. His body's developed. You guys see just how stacked he is now. That's the way that you want your team to actually progress. Us as Texas fans, we've had to endure times where we had to worry about freshmen coming in and saving, like saving the defense, saving the offense, right? This is what you want. You want a guy who plays a little bit his freshman year, flashes a little bit, right? But comes in that sophomore year, his junior year, and really dominates because it's the player development piece. And I think that's something that Texas has been lacking for quite some time, is that player development. And look, we see with Sark's staff right now, what they've been able to do with Baron Sorrell, with him last year flashing, I think against, Texas Tech, right? And then after the Tech game, he didn't flash much anymore, but that's just being a freshman hitting the wall, right? So now the guy has made it. He has developed. He is a starter now, and we're seeing exactly what he can do. Mind it is against Monroe. It is what it is, but you got to beat who's in front of you, and you got to look good doing whatever you got to do in front of the people that line up across from you.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. And you talked about development. With development, you have to have buy-in, right? This is this staff's second year. In order to develop players got to believe in coaches.
Yeah.
And I think they've started getting there with the 57 out of 85 being freshmen and sophomores, 35 brand new guys. They're getting the kind of guys that they want in this program and this system. And I think that's what makes it easier to develop as long as the players are bought into coaches. So I figured out how I was going to do it, Lando. Because Byron Murphy's from my hometown of DeSoto, Texas. Yeah. So I'm going to take it back to the Metroplex. But we're going to talk about that whole interior defensive line. Mm-hmm. I saw exactly what I asked for. And again, it's ULM. I will quantify it by saying that it's not a Alabama. It's not a Big 12 opponent. But your thoughts on the interior line yesterday and their ability to stop the run, number one. Yeah. Because I think the point, I think it was at halftime or early in the third quarter, I think they increased their run, yards per carry towards the end of the game at garbage time. But there was a point when it was 2.4 yards per carry, and I think it was real early in the second half. But your thoughts on the interior defensive line's ability to stop the run, and then Keandre Coburn coming up and getting a sack.
Yeah, I was just going to say that was actually going to be my first point, was that Keandre Coburn, not only does he look lighter, I think the weight that he's playing at right now, whatever that is, I don't know exactly how much weight he's lost, but he just looks more active. He was quicker, and he was just that dude that we've been waiting to see right in the middle. And then, as far as Byron Murphy's concerned, I just saw him kind of commanding double teams and even still moving that pocket despite that, right? The MVP of the offseason by some accounts, maybe more than just a few accounts. And just thinking about what I'm seeing also with Vernon Broughton, who's moving all over the place, sideline to sideline. He's going to be that guy that kind of fills in on the interior and obvious passing down situations, right? To kind of rush the passer. That's kind of his, his background as an athlete and playing basketball and stuff like that in high school. He's got the natural athleticism and the quick feet, right? And we're seeing him look like he's playing lighter. And that all goes without saying. The guy who I think all of us can agree has the most ceiling and the highest upside, not even being on the field yesterday, and Alfred Collins. I just hope that he's able to get and stay healthy, considering he got hurt in like pregame warmups or something, right? Which that's terrifying just to think about,
first scrimmage, right?
Yeah.
First scrimmage.
But, assuming we've seen the flashes in the ceiling from Alfred Collins, if he can start to put that together to go alongside what we know to be true in now a Baron Sorrell, in a Byron Murphy, Keandre Coburn kind of coming into his own finally, I think you got something there. So it's litmus test next weekend.
Wholeheartedly agree with your assessment. And I'm going to pop one up real quick, talking about Ryan Watts, right? Because I said I talked about Jalen Gilbeau, right? And his limited snap counts, I think he had 9 snaps and maybe 9, 13, somewhere high, low numbers or teens. But the bottom line up front is when he was on the football field, he was impactful.
He was effective, man.
And I feel like Jatavian, this is one of those, you generally don't lose your job because of injury, but this could be one of those, jobs that we knew was tightly contested in fall and could go to the young kid from Port Arthur. But Ryan Watts was only challenged one time yesterday. And it was an incomplete pass. So as far as his coverage, and Deshaun Jameson had 4 targets against him, 3 receptions. Just so you guys know, 75% completion percentage. Again, we talked about preseason. That needs to come down. But again, if you're going to impact the game with 14 points positive by blocking a punt and returning an interception, as long as those don't become habitual and you're getting burned over the top. And again, the longest completion he gave up was only 23 yards. He wasn't burnt for a touchdown. There was no consistently getting beat over the top. But your thoughts about the secondary, because I didn't see as much press man coverage as we thought we were going to see, but I think that 6'2" corner from Ohio State, again, he didn't get a ball completed against him yesterday. Your thoughts on Watts and Gilbeau?
So I was just real quick, Nino, if you don't mind, I was just going to say the Watts thing. You could tell that there was an obvious game plan not to throw in his direction. I think the ULM staff knew that he was going to be the one of the two to the boundary pressing, right? We kind of talked about that a little bit. That was going to be a change, a different philosophical approach from PK, and maybe that's an influence from Gary Patterson. I'm not entirely sure about that. If you guys want to throw some your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what some of those people think about that. But clearly the ULM knew they were outmatched up front, right? So the plan was not to be able to try and wait for a guy in bump and run coverage manned up against Ryan Watts to try and get open, because they knew that they didn't have a ton of time in the pocket to get back there and throw. So I think that's why we saw Deshaun Jameson. Of the two, there's more space out there. He's playing off-ball coverage. You're going to see that guy get thrown at a little bit more, but that's kind of what we want, right?
Mm-hmm.
If a ball is misplaced or tipped, guess what? He's house call, right? So he's got that ability to utilize that speed to react. As far as Ryan Watts is concerned, though, in coverage, we didn't really get to see that. We will see that next weekend. I think he's physically capable. I know Nino's got some interesting thoughts about maybe him playing a different position. I would like to hear maybe elaborate on that. But when Ryan Watts is in the box, I saw him contain the edge multiple times last night and play downhill and come and tackle a guy in space. And that's what I like to see, man. That's fun football for me. So.
Absolutely. Corners making plays in the run game. I was going to talk about that. Not only does he not get a ball completed against him, I thought he was undergraded. He was one of the highest graded folks on the Texas roster yesterday on the defense. I dropped a tweet of what PFF had for overall grades. I think DeMarvin Overshown was poorly graded, but PFF has a history of grading him pretty poorly. And then Ryan Watts, I think he could have definitely had a higher grade from PFF. Again, I know they take the totality of the player, and what we really concentrate on in the defensive backfield is just that, their ability to cover. But Ryan Watts coming up and, like you say, setting the edge,
yes,
as a corner is stuff that wins ball games and
attacking
like you say,
ball carriers. It was fun to watch. Yeah.
And Five's not going to drop the ball. You know, if it's a tip ball or an overthrow, and Five's around, he was a slot receiver. Clint reminded me of that the other day in a show.
Yeah,
he was a
freshman
slot receiver
year.
his freshman year. Yeah. It was Duvernay, him, Johnson, and LJ Humphrey were the four wide receivers, and I had forgotten that. But yeah, he's got great ball skills, and it's something when you got a guy that's prolific in the return game as he is. To sell, again, this is the coaching staff and buy-in, and hey, Deshaun, you're a great punt returner, but guess what? I think you can help the team better by lining up at the line of scrimmage and being a Keelan. I got to worry about 7 getting back there, and I got to worry about 5.
Yeah,
and that's a problem. And then 8, once he catches the ball, is just dynamic. You know, going from the left side of the field all the way around the corner. I thought he was going to bust it. Had he turned it inside, I think he might have busted one.
I thought he
was. And credit to Jeff Banks. I said this live last night too. Credit to Jeff Banks. You know, a well-coached special teams unit when you're seeing them. It is so hard as a player to see a guy pursuing a ball carrier and then you coming the opposite direction. You're not allowed to block back towards your own end zone. And to see those guys just get in their way, hands up, like, look, ref, I'm not doing any unnecessary roughness. No. I'm doing my job, right? But shout out to Jeff Banks for that. And not only that, also predicting, as we saw Sark talk about in the post-game presser, he said, hey, if they block us this way, we're gonna go 3 and out. And when they punt, if they block us this way, Deshaun Jameson, you're gonna block this punt. And sure enough, he did that.
He got it.
So I love the fact that I can go to sleep at night knowing that Jeff Banks is on my team and on my sideline. And one, which is it's all 33%, all 3 phases, right? They all have to co-align for you to get to where you want to go as a program. And we're starting to see that now, getting the best athletes on the field and having those guys impact plays and put points on the board for you. It's something that we're not really used to. So I love that. Love what Jeff Banks is doing.
Yeah, man. Hey, so Banks is doing his thing. He's doing his thing, man. He's been the coordinator that's been the most consistent here. You know, pretty much his whole stay here so far. But when it comes to, like just the whole secondary as a whole, Watts looks really good. I mean, he looks the part. He's the guy that's going to come like one of the first off of the bus kind of folks when it comes to like the DBs, right? I mean, he looks the part. Gilbeau, man, like you say, hey, Barron better get back because he might lose that job, man. Hey, that dude's hungry, man. I mean, he's hungry. He's a Golden Triangle kid. Those guys are tough. I mean, they are tough, man. They're physical. I've always told people just his toughness and his nastiness and his and just being physical. He kind of reminded me of Cedric Griffin, right? Because he was a tough, big bodied, like corner. But just looking at him last night in true game action, I don't know, man. He kind of reminds me a little bit Quandre Diggs just a little bit bigger, like hitting that slot, blitzing really well, because Quandre can blitz really well himself. Quandre was good against the run. I mean, his timing was perfect.
Earl Thomas.
Hey.
That I'm not saying he's Earl Thomas, but that's you know what I'm saying?
I can't put the freshman in the Hall of Fame yet. I can't put him in the Hall of Fame yet. That's
I'm just saying that's the kind of plays you've seen Earl Thomas make around the line.
That is true.
I'll throw a Sooner in there. Roy Wiggins down around the line of scrimmage, just causing havoc.
Yeah.
Gilbeau. And making quarterbacks again on 3 consecutive plays made impact last night for that defense.
Yeah.
And like you said, the lights aren't too big for these freshmen.
Yeah.
And I looked at the snap counts this morning, and they had everybody. You go look at the defensive box score the ESPN dropped or Texas Sports dropped, and it was like everybody contributed.
Everybody.
I would like to see
got some.
I would have liked.
I saw Prince Dorba. Prince Dorba got some snap rep too.
Prince Dorba. Man,
he was
waiting on Prince for 3 years now.
Yeah, I know.
I'm so glad he's playing.
Yeah,
I'm so glad he's playing.
There were 2 guys that I blew up that during our prediction or our preseason, position previews, and that was out of the linebacking core, and 2 guys that didn't contribute last night, and you go to PFF and their grades reflect it, were Jalen Ford and Diamante Tucker Dorsey. So I know that linebackers are coming in and out, secondary folks are coming in and out, but I think those guys have to be, especially against a team like University of Louisiana Monroe, have to be impactful and have to make plays. So we're talking up the defense, and I know GP is going to get a lot of love here in just a second when we talk about their ability to get to the football, hats around the football. Again, penetrating defense, not waiting for the offense to come to you, getting in the backfield. And even if you might not make every tackle behind the line of scrimmage, you're still affecting the play. Running backs can't get started. So need to see more out of those 2 guys. But Lando,
yes, sir.
Gary Patterson, right? He was Steve Sarkisian's guy. He was Steve Sarkisian calls him probably the second most important player he got, or I'll say the second most important person he got, probably behind 3 in the transfer portal or higher.
Just in the offseason in general,
Yes. So your thoughts on Gary Patterson's influence on this defense? What did you see last night that you liked that was a little bit different from last year?
Well, I saw a comment that's already kind of hint at one of the things that I saw that was different and unique. And again, this could all be, I'm not obviously behind the scenes there, so I can't speak for certain about what's actually going on. But seeing Ethan Burke line up off the ball, literally in the A gap and trying to time up a blitz, that was fun to watch.
It was. It's a big kid.
I saw communication from Jaron Thompson, and that had been leaked that he was kind of like the glue guy back there, kind of getting everybody in the right spot and with their right keys. And man, I'm watching my linebackers, the first team linebackers, mind you, right? Jalen Ford and Diamante Tucker Dorsey out there. This is like the first or second series of the game defensively. And Jaron Thompson's out there. He's making all the calls. And you got linebackers turning around, they're talking, they're communicating. They're like, all right, I got you. Just seeing them ready and communicating. And like those guys are turning around to Jaron Thompson. And they're saying, what we got? He lets them know. And then you just see him instantly. Okay, yeah. Locked right back in and ready to fire. That stuff fires me up, man. So seeing Jaron Thompson really kind of take that step as the leader in the secondary, kind of getting everybody in the right spot with that back 7, man, that was cool to see. And then the other thing is, and this is kind of like a question back to you guys that I'll spin is, and for everybody in the chat too, please chime in because I love this type of discussion. The Gary Patterson thing, I made a video yesterday and I posted it, and it's just something that I don't want to forget about. So that's why I kind of talked about it as one of my pregame highlights and preseason highlights as we get started. The halftime adjustments that Steve Sarkisian alluded to multiple times in all of his press conferences. Again, I'm always trying to read between the tea leaves of those things too. Halftime adjustments, he's owned that. He said that's me. We did not adjust well as a team, and therefore we didn't finish. We couldn't finish ball games. Why? We had 4 games in a row against top 25 opponents in which we had 10 or more point halftime leads. Can't finish the game. So why is that? Is it an adjustment thing? Is it a lack of conditioning? Is it a lack of toughness and communication? All of those things, I think we checked all 4 of those boxes yesterday, did we not? If if the reason for those fallouts, I think we saw a little bit of each of those 4 that we maybe wouldn't have seen last year. So to me, I'm very encouraged by that. And again, litmus test this coming Saturday. We're going to find out a lot about our team, but the youthful leadership, and then flying to the football, and then just seeing different stuff like Ethan Burke. That's a guy that we didn't even expect to play, who's now on the 2 deep, and he's lining up in the A gap on a 3rd down, getting after the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So seeing different types of stuff from a schematical standpoint, but also to me, it's just they look faster. They're playing confident because they know exactly what they're expected to do. So,
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think the whole Patterson, pickup was all for the adjustment piece. Last year alone, what was it, 7 times? We actually led last year, and we ended up getting up the lead. Like 4 times, right? So, yeah. Having Patterson on staff is all for just strictly adjustments for Sark. And hey, honestly, after that first drive, it was adjustment time. We had to get up out that script. This was adjustment time. It wouldn't surprise me if, hey, GP sitting up in the thing saying, hey, man, this is what they saw. Yep. This is why he did this, bro. Hey, try this. Like try to do something like this.
Minor
do
stuff,
something.
Man.
Yeah, minor stuff, man. Yep. So that is what you brought him here for. Was adjustments. Texas adjusted greatly, just after that first drive. And
I don't want the fans to forget that. All of the people in the chat right now, anybody who could potentially stumble upon this video, don't forget how important that is, what Nino just said. So
yeah, and also just talking about Thompson, man, you're right. Last year we didn't see a lot of communication at all on the defense. Last night. Yeah. It was everybody's talking like you say, Thompson's like, hey, and then, hey, look, here's Demo. Demo's looking back. He's lining up over here on the edge. He's in the middle. He's playing linebacker. He's lining up on the edge. He's dropping back. He's rushing the pass. Hey, Demo, oh my God. That is the DeMarvin Overshown that everybody has been wanting to see on a game-to-game basis. Pretty much since he's been here. Now, of course, he's had injuries. He's had to move, from safety down to linebacker. But, having him being that chess piece, like, hey, we talked about this, Jeremy, too, right? PK going to meet with, Dan Quinn. That was all to see how do I get Demo to look like Micah Parsons in some kind of fashion. And I
forgot that he did that.
Yeah,
he went to go meet with DQ. That's a good point.
He did. And I think last night we saw it. We saw Demo was everywhere. I mean, he was rushing the passer. When the quarterback tried to do that bootleg, right? When he tried to do the bootleg right there on the goal line, hey, Demo read that perfectly. You know, dude thought he had a clean run. Bow, 5-yard loss. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It was perfect. He saved 7 points right there, right? So he's just a chess piece that I think this defense has been looking for the past couple of years. And if we can't, actually get a rush off the edge, per our normal means, we can kind of get him just lined up anywhere to try to figure out where he can get on the weakest point and be one of those guys that can just pretty much exploit your offensive line if need be.
Yeah, a couple of points real quick that you guys brought up. Plan, adjust, and finish.
Yes.
That's the new motto. It's not all gas, no brakes. It's come in with a game plan, being able to adjust when you get hit in the mouth, and finish the ball games. That's the new motto. I'm gonna start hashtagging that on all our videos.
I literally
feel free to hashtag it.
Tweeted that last week.
You got trademark
verbatim. Yes, I literally said that exact same thing.
And we always talk about weaponizing our offensive players. Hey, let's do this with Worthy. Let's put him in orbit motion. Let's get JT on a matchup with the linebacker. Let's do this with Bijan. Let's go with empty formation. Let's go with 22 personnel. We never truly talk about how to weaponize our defensive players. And I think you saw it last night with DeMarvin Overshown. We heard about it for all spring and all fall that they were going to line him up in different places. And you're absolutely right on that bootleg. He's the only guy out there, and he catches him from the backside. There was nobody on the front side to make that tackle. Like if he doesn't make that stop, then like touchdown. You said, they're dancing in the end zone. But you saw them do it with 91. When 91 came in the game, he did multiple things. He lined up in the A gap. He was a spy on a play. They lined him up outside, talking about Ethan Burke. And like you said, when you got a skill set like Jalen Gilbeau, who you want down around the box. Anthony Cook's the same way. I see David Williams shouting out Anthony Cook, and I love Anthony Cook. He's one of our guys. Like I say, we have a relationship with that young man and love him, love Jaron Thompson and their ability to communicate, because that's what they're fired up about. Landon talked about it earlier. When we talked to Anthony Cook, spent 30 minutes with him, that's what he was most excited about moving to safety, was being able to command that defense.
Yeah.
To command that defense. And so, again, David's talking about the linebackers and secondary folks were in position. I'm not going to argue with that. Again, I haven't had the opportunity to be able – they haven't – to my knowledge, they haven't put the whole game on YouTube yet where I could stop. I know Nash threw some offensive plays out there for us to kind of stop and rewind. I haven't been able to do that with the defense yet.
I haven't either. I got to go back and watch all of it too. Yeah.
Because it's hard to do it on LHN in real time, because your eyes, again, always go to the offensive defensive line. So it's hard to see the secondary work. But yeah, weaponizing your defense. And I think that's what you're going to find with Gary Patterson is that's his job, is to assess, to self-scout and say, hey, I don't know if this guy best suits us in this position. I think on certain down and distance, we need to put him here to put pressure on the passer, to be able to cover in the slot, to do those things to make our defense better. And I think that's what his job is to throw monkey wrenches in Sark's offensive game plan, and at the same time self-scout our defense and help Pete Kwiatkowski put these guys in the best position. And Clint has the note card theory, right? Clint says he's standing up in the box with the 5x7 index card and making notes and then sliding them over to whoever's in the box. Hey, you might want to think about this. You might want to do that, because he can't be on the headset. But he's got his 3x5 cards and he's sliding them to the defensive staff.
It's that eye in the sky, man. Yeah, it matters for sure.
Exactly.
And the experience. So I'm going to pub the channel real quick, and I'm going to pub these guys' channels. There's 121 folks in here currently watching Texas Football Talk with Nino's Corner and the Lando Show. These guys put out tremendous content on YouTube. You can find them on Twitter at Nino's Corner, Lando Show at Twitter. But please, after you're done watching this video, please go check out their stuff. I know Lando's as busy as we are. Nino's as busy as we are as far as content creation. Lando is just had a baby. He's a pitcher.
Lots of life changes happening.
He throws the rock. So he's throwing the rock. But he's assured us, because he is fantastic at what he does, that he's going to provide more YouTube content creation about the Longhorns. I know you see that Dallas Cowboys star behind his over his left shoulder. He does a lot of content creation for the Dallas Cowboys. Him and Stephen Nagati from Fanatic Perspective kind of cover that for us. But these guys are excellent. So please hit that like button. There's 126 folks in here. There's currently 52 likes. So let's get that up. There was a show with Stephen Nagati where Nino actually got invited to, because we hit a like number that
200 likes
that the chat wanted. So
I was on travel too. I was working in Boston.
You were like Clint. You were in a hotel room with a laptop on your lap. But I know Steven had a long night, so I don't see us inviting Steven. He's filming a video at 4:30 this morning. So I don't see him hopping on here with us.
Dedication.
with his library voice, right?
That's commitment to it right there.
That's dedication.
I was like, that dude's eyes look bad. Like he needs a nap. But so he probably won't be joining us today. But again, please like the video. If you haven't subscribed to Texas Football Talk, please subscribe to Texas Football Talk. Again, we have the Inner Circle. It's our membership program. If you wouldn't mind or checking that out and see if you want to do that, that'd be great too. But really, really appreciate you guys jumping in here on a Sunday. We got our friends with us, Nino's Corner and Lando Show. So get over to their channels, support them, follow them on their social media platforms. They're outstanding at what they do. So let's transition to the young offensive line.
Ooh,
I think we saw, if I'm not mistaken, all 7 of them guys. Again, Campbell got 3 snaps. I think Cam Williams got 3 snaps, so not a big snap count for some of them. But your thoughts initially about 78 and 54. I'll let you take 78, Lando, and you take 54, Nino. So go with Kelvin Banks, Lando.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely looks the part, right? That's first things first. You can tell the confidence that he kind of plays with, right? We've heard rumors too that he's behind the scenes a really just a kind of more of a lay low type of dude as far as personality is concerned. He's just all about business and all about work. And so I didn't see Quinn too affected last night, obviously, right? Like, so that's what we would prefer to see against an inferior opponent like that. But again, I'd have to go back and kind of assess how he specifically played. It's tough to be able to just watch one specific player in any given game. That's what the film is for. So that's what I can't wait to go get after. But I felt like my quarterback had plenty of time last night, and so it all starts with the blind side, right over there on the left side, and having some experience. I heard I think Lando and Acho were talking about that a little bit last night with Kyle Flood kind of separating the two freshmen and making sure that they've got a more experienced guy who's had at least one extra year in the system in between each one is cool with Cole Hudson playing the right guard spot. But I'll let Nino take that one as far as what he thinks he saw from Cole.
Hey, man, Cole Hudson did a great job last night. And honestly, it was good to see him paired with Christian Jones, right?
Yeah.
Christian Jones moving to the right side, that's his dominant leg as well. He looked more fluid as well, so he was very good at the right tackle position. But once you couple that with Hudson as well, Hudson played. I mean, he played really well. I mean, he's a strong kid, man. I mean, you can tell he's very physical. It's good to see him coming early too. So when
getting here in the spring was big for him.
He got here in the spring, that was huge for him, and you can tell he didn't look like a freshman out there. So he looked like a sophomore basically because he's been through the camps. He's been through, spring camp, fall camp, so he's been through the motions here. So he looked really good. He was very smooth there as well. So having both those guys on the line, I was a little bit kind of worried about that. Let's say about 4 or 5 months ago, I was like, oh man, there's going to be 2 freshmen starting, right? One would be ideal. But to have a guy like Cole Hudson come in early and then get the playing time now, he looked very fluid out there. Line was very seamless last night, man. I have no complaints, none at all.
I wanted to say one more thing too, just about Kelvin Banks. People, do y'all understand? The fact that he didn't get here in the spring, right? There was really never a doubt that who was going to win that job at the left tackle spot from day one of
from the minute he got on campus
or summer camp. Yeah, so the fact that is the reality as a true freshman just kind of tells you about how talented he already is, and just what 2 more years in this program, what he's going to be whenever it's time for him to get drafted. So I see the potential 100% for a future first-round draft pick there. So I just can't wait to see him continue to develop. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So I got 2 quick comments, and folks who watch the channel often have heard this story. So we got invited to the Burn Orange Heroes at the High Five, and got to meet guys like David Gabenda, Anthony Cook. Got to spend time with Jordan Whittington. Got to spend time with a lot of good ball players. And we had Connor Robertson on the show last year when he committed to the University of Texas. And he talked about Ethan Burke, and he talked about the kid who eventually committed to Oklahoma, who's still playing at Westlake. But we said, Connor, give us your assessment on your new teammates. And you can hear the media talk because we don't know how much availability everybody truly has, because it seems like Sark's really shut down this program as far as media availabilities. I mean, he does the press conferences, but as far as practice time, Steven talks about this all the time.
Great
availability
point.
to see practice, right? And so we talked to Connor, and it wasn't what he said, it's how he said it. His eyes blew up, and he said, I'll tell you one thing, Kelvin Banks is the real deal. And it's like his eyes were big as dinner plates. And that's when I knew, like, this is a kid who just got on campus and understands that this guy's the same age as him. They're in the same class. And being a Metroplex guy, like, we really, really studied DJ Campbell. We really studied Cole Hudson, right? Because we have a relationship with Scott, Cole's dad, through Mike Roach, kind of. And so we really focused on those guys. But when Connor Robertson said, this guy's the real deal, and the way he said it, we had to go back and watch some more Summer Creek tape. Had to see because again, this kid committed to 2 other schools before he came to Texas. He committed to Oklahoma State as a junior. He committed to Oregon as a senior. And then finally, thank goodness, him and Cam Williams found their way to the 40 acres. But I totally agree. Like, to walk in as not an early enrollee, a guy who got there a couple months ago, went through, I think Sarkisian said 21 practices is what the fall schedule was. I mean, there may be more, maybe less, but I think he said around 20 practices. And he is your left tackle. He's the blind side to your 1.000 quarterback.
from
Right.
day one.
It's absolutely phenomenal, right? Absolutely phenomenal. And I ask you guys to put your OC hats on real quick because I threw this up here for a reason. Because I went into PFF this morning to look at and that's when I saw that the wide receivers Whittington and Kane had the best blocking grades of anybody on the football team. But the number one offensive lineman graded yesterday was number 78, Kelvin Banks.
Okay.
And the lines grades were, and like you said a little bit earlier, Lando, clean pocket. Like I said, Nash put out that video of every offensive play that Quinn Ewers dropped back, and I was able to slow that down and clean pocket just about every throw. The interception, again, he rolled out, but he had a lot of time before he had to roll right. I say that to say this. Your OC hat for your game plan against Alabama, knowing that your offensive line is a better pass blocking unit than run blocking unit, but probably your best player on the offensive side of the football is your running back, number 5. Yeah. Nino, you go first.
Man, why you do this to me? Well, first off, let me preface this with saying this, man. My wife's from Alabama, right? She's from Greene County, Alabama. It's about 45 minutes from Tuscaloosa. My wife went to Troy, right? But both my sister-in-laws graduated from Alabama. I have 2 nieces that graduated from Alabama. So next weekend, I was planning on flying into Austin just to get away from my wife because I have to hear that pretty much all week. But yeah, I'm gonna stay home. I'm gonna stay home. I'm gonna go downstairs and make her go upstairs and not talk to her all day. Lucky the game's early. But man, Alabama, that juggernaut. I didn't get a chance to watch the game last night, of course, because Texas was on. But I did hear my wife screaming all night. I think they had 44 points in the first half. But that defense, how do you stop them? I don't know. Bijan is definitely our best player, him and Worthy. I think you got to hit him across the middle pretty frequently. Quick passes out, getting them to Sanders, getting him to like Whittington as well. Bama's cornerbacks, I think, are probably their weak spot. Just from just kind of doing just some intel on them. So I think they could be tested and they possibly could be had a little bit. And I think that we can get the matchups that we want. But I think this is going to have to be a game where JT Sanders is really big in this game. If we can get him to stretch the field, like I said before, that's going to open things up for Bijan. And then once we do run the ball with Bijan, run it at Alabama's best defensive player. He is a hell of a pass rusher. He's not as strong against the run as he is a pass. He's great against the run. He's great. Don't get it twisted. The dude is great against the run, but he's an exceptional and transcendent player when it comes to rushing the passer. And if there is a knock on him, it is his ability to stop the run. Run straight at him. Run at him.
Yeah, you talk about. Yeah, I was about to say the problem with trying to run away from Will Anderson is that you got Dallas Turner waiting on the other side.
Yeah,
and
but his
just
speed too.
Pursue. Yeah,
his
he can
speed.
pursue.
Run at his ass. Get him tired. Get him tired. Run at him. Make sure that you get Banks lined up on him, or even get Christian Jones at 325, 330 pounds. Get some hands on him. Make it difficult for him. Run the ball at him. Run it often. Run it with bad intentions. I don't care if you got to put another running back in there and say, hey, Rojo, I need you to be a fullback tonight. Chip that guy every time Bijan has the ball. Make him work for every play. And if you can make him work for every play, then I think we have a shot. It can slow him down in the pass rush, and I think that can eventually open things up for JT Sanders, Worthy, and Whittington as well. And don't sleep on Gunnar Helm in this next game. All the attention is going to be on JT Sanders from the stuff that he's put on tape.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on Gunnar Helm. They're going to be looking at JT Sanders now. This is the first time anybody has seen him in a college game. And now that people see that he can really block now too, and he can catch the damn ball, and he's fast, and he runs good routes, and he has great hands. He's going to get some coverage his way as well. Gunnar Helm, my prediction is that he is going to have a lot of opportunities to eat next week and get it. Let's get it.
So my thing is, I kind of, obviously 12 personnel is kind of what we're going to see most of the time as like our base offensive set with, 2 tight ends on the field, right? And especially with, you've got a young left tackle and you've got a young right guard, having an extra guy in there to assist with the pass protection obviously makes you feel good. But to me, this is where I kind of like give myself pause when I'm thinking about this Alabama game with the 2 guys that they have on their edges. No question, the undoubted best tandem. And I mean, you're talking about Will Anderson's probably going to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft next year.
Yeah.
If he stays healthy. And there's a reason why a defensive end has Heisman odds right now that are up there with the best of them, because that's just the way that he impacts football games. It's just, you can't replicate that. But I don't know how eager Steve Sarkisian is going to be to try to beat Alabama in a phone booth with 12 personnel at, bringing more guys into a box where you're already probably outmatched anyways. Getting the ball out quick to the perimeter, I think, is a lot of what we're going to see early, especially just establishing a rhythm for Quinn in the biggest game of his life, right? And instead of trying to take deep shots early and, forcing some stuff when you probably shouldn't and throwing a pick, and you get off script and putting your defense back on the field like that against a team like Alabama, you're done for. So taking care of the football will be imperative. But to me, that's where I don't know exactly what we're going to see. We know the go-go principles that Marion is so familiar and fond with. We know that the tight end situation, right? Jatavian Sanders is one of the best players on the football team. You obviously want him involved, but are you willingly bringing Gunnar Helm on to the other side and having, like I said, just crowding an already box that you are probably going to be overmatched in, right? You don't want Quinn stepping back and standing in the pocket for too long in this game, just from what I know about Will Anderson and Dallas Turner. So I don't know. I'm very curious to see how that plans out. But what I do know is they've been planning for this game for the last 2 weeks as far as install is concerned. They didn't take the field last night against ULM and have a game plan on how to beat ULM. They were practicing these last 2 weeks, getting ready for Alabama, and they were just going to go let their talent do the thing for them last night without showing too much. We saw a very vanilla Steve Sarkisian offense, and I expect him. I tweeted this too today. Unload the banana clip next weekend against because you're going to have to, right? That's what we're going to have to see if we're going to have any shot at winning this game. But I don't know. I'm very curious to see the personnel. Like I said, my thing is I can't imagine a world where Steve Sarkisian is comfortable willingly bringing in more players, more defenders into the box and trying to beat Alabama in a phone booth. I don't know. I think we can do that. We're capable of that physically, but I just don't think we're ready yet mentally, like the maturity. That's where Alabama gets you. We got the same caliber athlete on both sides of the ball next weekend. That's what people don't understand. All these big time playmakers from Texas, they have Alabama offers coming out of high school, right? And Nick Saban wanted all these guys too. He wanted Bijan, he wanted Xavier, he wanted Quinn. We matched them athletically, but where Alabama gets you is they're more well coached and they're more mature because they've been in a program for 3 years.
Developed
step on the field. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So
they're more developed.
Yeah. So that's it, man. I'll be curious to see how it works. But if anybody knows how to attack a Nick Saban defense, it's Steve Sarkisian. So
I got a couple of points on y'all's points, and I wholeheartedly agree with you, Nino. I think you're spot on. When you do run the football, you got to run directly at Will Anderson. You got to beat him up as many times as you possibly can in the run game. Again, that might slow him down a little bit when he's trying to get upfield. And then when they do decide they want to, rush, I think that screenplay underneath stuff, that flick of the wrist stuff we saw yesterday, I think you're going to see a lot of that this coming up week. Get the ball out of his hands. Let them come upfield sometimes and try to get behind them. Your thought on empty, keeping folks out. I'm kind of putting words in your mouth. I don't know if personnel groups you're talking empty to keep guys out of the box, but I like my guys that are empty. I like having, and this is where I think losing Billingsley to suspension kind of hurts you a little bit. Because I have Witt, I have X, I have Jatavian Sanders, I have Bijan, and now who's my fifth guy? Is it Casey Kane? Is it Ajay Hall? Is it Tariq Milton? Do you bring 11? Do you pull 11 out of the box? Because again, folks are saying they left 11 on the sidelines for a reason, and I believe that because they didn't want to show everything they had.
I hope so.
Well, I did talk to Mom this morning. I did talk to Bonnie this morning. So hopefully they kept Brennan Marion has some plans. Him and Steve Sarkisian have plans for 11 to kind of unveil him next week.
For that 10-2
that's what
speed.
we're hoping.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So
did y'all see him? He wasn't targeted yesterday, was he?
No. He wasn't targeted, but he played in the fourth quarter.
So that's what I'm talking about. The vanilla stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he had about a handful of snaps.
Yeah.
But he wasn't targeted. They were just still trying to run the, just grind the game out at that point.
Right.
By the time him, like I say, DJ Campbell snaps, he got 3. Cam Williams got 3 or 4, but they were all, with Charles right in the game and just trying to grind it out a little bit. But if you did look at snap counts, like I said, it went off the page as far as, roster and availability for the game and folks getting to play. But I think 15. I think you can see Jai Hall, he was in uniform. He sat out this game. Didn't get any run. You saw Amiri again get a catch, first catch in his
shout out to
career.
Troy Amiri too, man, for sure.
Yes. Happy about that one. I was happy for Troy, man.
2 rehabs, you know what I mean? Like
back to back.
Coming. Yes, absolutely. So I got one last question for you. We've been at it for about an hour now. Again, 143 folks in here, 70 likes. Please hit that like button. Only half these folks. Yeah, Steven said it's free. I don't generally say that, but it's free to like the video. It's free to subscribe to Texas Football Talk. It's free to subscribe to Nino's Corner and Lando Show. So get over there and, like I say, follow these guys, subscribe to these guys, look for these guys' content on YouTube. It's phenomenal. Go to their social media platforms. We follow them. So if you go to our followers or who we're following, find them in our role and click and follow those guys. Like Nino said and Lando said, they're pretty active on Twitter. We have our own content creator group that we're a part of, kind of share thoughts and ideas that allow us to come on here and give content to you guys. I really appreciate, their intellect and their support of the Longhorn program and what they do. Very valuable in our community. All right. So I have one final concern that I want to talk to you about. And it's not a concern for me as much as I think it's been overblown on Twitter. Isaac Pearson had to hold for 9 kick attempts yesterday. He was able to successfully hold for 8 of them, right? That's a pretty good percentage. That's 88%. But then he gets back there and he drops a punt snap. Yeah. Against ULM, no worry. 7-point game against Alabama. 10-point game against Alabama. Game is close. Let's not even use Alabama. Let's just say conference. Yeah. In conference. Could cost you a game. Your thoughts on what you would do at the holder position? Again, 8 out of 9 kicks were successfully held for. And then is the concern for him catching the ball at punter large enough that they go to Trejo like you saw last night?
Yeah. So first off, real quick, man, I'll just say this: 8 out of 9, even though that's a great percentage in baseball, it's a great percentage in basketball. Might even in some cases be a really phenomenal percentage in football, depending on what position you're talking about and efficiency. But 8 out of 9 against Alabama won't do it for you, man. Like I'm saying, like if you have aspirations of winning this game, which as fans we all absolutely should. I don't know why anybody should be scared of Alabama. It should be fun. It's gonna be go out there and line up and try to go
toe for toe. Let's
toe to toe, man. Yeah. So anyway, Steve Sarkisian has referenced Hudson Card being a more than capable place kick holder, something that he did last year. That would be actually a noble thing for him to willingly take on, knowing obviously he wants to be QB1. He's quarterback 2 right now, but to step up and not only stay in the program, even when he's not named the starter, if he can come out and help you at a potential position in need like that to shore up a question on special teams, then I would love to see that from Hudson Card if that's what it comes to. Now, I'm not going to judge Isaac Pearson. Now, while he did, it was not just one mistake yesterday, it was 2. So is that jitters? Is it a lack of hand-eye coordination? I mean, I can't speak to that. I don't know. But hopefully those are learning moments from him. Hopefully he's kind of got that, got his feet wet a little bit, and hopefully he's got his hands a little bit more sticky and to where
sweaty.
We don't have to worry about that. But if that is a concern, next guy up, So that's up to the coaching staff to figure out, and I trust Jeff Banks. So we'll see what happens on Saturday.
Yeah, put some pine tar on his hands, right? That's baseball reference.
No joke.
Yeah, a little tack. Yeah. Your thoughts, Nino, on do you replace him or do you try to rep this stuff in practice and figure out if it's feasible to keep him there, or do you just roll card out there? Because again, perfections in any sport is difficult.
Yeah.
Like our favorite team there, Lando, Tony Romo, playoff game against Seattle.
Shoot, man.
Similar situation.
Case in point. Yeah.
That's my first year in the military. 05, 06. Oh,
06.
I remember that like it was yesterday. Yeah. But like some folks want to put card back there. I'm a little hesitant with putting card, even though card might be the best to actually do that. I would hate for something just bad to happen to card. And now, if something happens to Quinn, we have no backup quarterback, right? With any kind of experience. That's my only hesitation. But you got to do what you got to do to win the games. If Card is the best person to take the snap, let Card do the job. As far as punting the ball, maybe that was jitters, with Pearson, with dropping the ball, because the ball came right to him.
It was right below his waist. Yeah,
that has to be caught and kicked. Now, one thing I will give him, he had a little bit of juice in him. He picked the ball up, ran down the sideline and kicked it. I was like, all right, he got a little bit of like juice to him. But yeah, man, they got to just kind of clean those things up. Hopefully he can punt pretty well next week. I'm not asking to be Dicker the kicker or long ball Dixon, right? But we'll see what Jeff Banks does. Card would be really good to actually hold those kicks. Now I think about it, I don't want that to happen.
It's a receiver. Again. I mean, he played receiver all throughout.
Yeah, man, I don't want that to happen again, man. Yeah. But just going off on like another tangent. Okay.
Let's do it. That's what we're here, baby.
Man, Dicker the kicker. Kicker. You could have made your NIL money and still been here.
Kicking. We love you, Dicker. Come back.
We love you. It's just, I don't even think it's on the roster right now, is he?
I think he got released by
the Ravens.
The Ravens.
He was there with Tucker.
They signed him with JT. I was pumped about that, man. Yeah. I was like, he's learned from the GOAT. Two Texas X's, but
and so now it's you go from a guy who was your punter, a guy who was your kickoff guy, and your field goal kicker, and he leaves. For greener pastures to go to the league, and now he's not on any kind of active roster, and he could have been here getting some kind of bread, when it comes to the straight up NIL money, because he is Dicker the kicker, right? He has the kick for Texas over the past 5 or 6 years, right? And so this would have been his opportunity to be that guy, I think, on a team that has the potential to do some great things this year. So we miss Dicker the kicker. It is what it is. We miss him. Of course, he had his mistakes. He didn't make every field goal, but when they counted, he made them, just for the most part. So, that's a huge loss. I don't know, man. Put Card back there.
Okay. You talked yourself into the change. You talked yourself into
Card
the change.
Back there, man.
Yeah.
So I love special teams. Yeah. I love special teams, but I can't end this show talking about special teams. Again, it got you 6 points yesterday. Great pump block by Deshaun Jameson, picked up by Keelan Robinson. Beautiful play. But your guys' thoughts, I don't know if either one of you are going to be down. I think, Nino, you said you're not making the trip for the Alabama game?
No, I won't be down there for that game, but I should be down there for UTSA, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'll be there that weekend as well. It's against my religion to have to miss a game like this, considering I also had to miss the one in 2019 against LSU, but I had a trip that was planned. It's like an annual trip with some friends of mine that we go to Florida every summer for the start of the NFL season. So I'll actually not be in Austin this coming Saturday, unfortunately, but I will be there. I plan on being there the following Saturday against UTSA.
Yeah. So I heard Local Lindo yesterday talk about it's the biggest game at DKR since Notre Dame and Charlie Strong, and I disagree with that. I think LSU is probably – now, we didn't know that Joe Burrow – and, again, I was drafting a fantasy team yesterday, two fantasy teams, one at noon and one at 8, right in the middle of the chat, right in the middle of the game, trying to and Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Like, you don't – Joe Burrow, like how –
Randy Moss's son, he was on the team.
That team had two top 5 overall fantasy picks as far as their ADP is concerned at receiver.
Yes. I got Chase. I got Chase with my number 1 pick.
Not even talk about the damn quarterback.
And we're not even talking about the quarterback that was the number 1 overall draft pick. That's crazy.
So, and we didn't know that at the time, right? In hindsight, it most definitely, in my mind, was the biggest game at Texas in recent history. I wouldn't go all the way back to Notre Dame like Lowell did. I appreciate that Louisiana State team that came in here, had to deal with the locker room with no AC. Makes me laugh to this day. and then Texas played them, I think, the best game that year in the national championship year. I think 4th and 17, or was it 3rd and 17? Boneheaded, coverage called by Todd Orlando, who was generally pretty good at that kind of stuff. But again, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, we just named all the athletes they had. How excited. I got up at 4:30 yesterday morning for this game against ULM that didn't kick to 7. I'm not so sure I'm going to sleep.
I won't sleep
Friday night.
No.
How excited are you guys for Saturday? Nino, you go first.
Man, I'm excited. I think Texas is going to do some great things on Saturday. I think, look, I think people aren't giving us any credit. Hey, they're just going to automatically assume that we're going to get pounded this game. I got a feeling Texas is going to shock a lot of people. I'm not saying that they're going to shock with a win. I'm not saying that. I hope that's the case. But I just got a feeling when Sark has his guys now, his guys are bought in. You can definitely tell that team is bought in. And the team this year is playing like they're not afraid to fail, right? Last year, they were playing scared to fail, right? Like they didn't want to make mistakes last year. They weren't playing loose, right? It was a new defensive scheme, new install, new coaches, a new position coach for everybody on the defensive side of the ball. And they were playing not to fail. And this year, they're not afraid to fail, meaning that they are literally going 100 miles per hour. And look, if you make a mistake going 100 miles per hour, hey, it's cool. It's fine. I know you're not afraid, right? Just go out there and make the play. And these guys know where to be. They're playing in great position. And I just got a feeling that this team, they're full of a bunch of guys here, especially for the defensive side of the ball. This is their last shot. Jamison, Demo, Coburn, Ojimo. These guys are playing with something to prove. And we saw Jamison last night. You could tell when he got that interception for a pick 6, it was just like, he was like, look, yes, y'all been hearing the reports all summer. I've been picking off ball after ball after ball, and you guys are probably saying it's the same Jamison. We hear it every summer, hear it in the spring. I want to see it in games. I gave it to you in the game. Expect more of this, right? Like that's how when he ran that ball, you just saw the weight off his shoulders. It's like, yeah, this is me. This is me. And so it's like these guys got something to prove, and so, I'm not going to predict anything yet. I'm going to save that for my show probably on a Friday night. But hey, man,
we're not going to ask you for no predictions.
But look, I think Texas is going to shock some people, on Saturday. If they win or not, it's going to be a hell of a game. And I think it's not going to be no lopsided game like people think it's going to be. I'm going to be super excited. I tell you, my wife's an Alabama fan, so I think I'm going to kidnap my kid. We're going to go down to a hotel or something to watch the game because I do not want to hear him say Roll Tide. I don't want to hear him say that shit. All right, so I'm going to kidnap my kid, go to the lake house, man, and watch the game down there with him. But yeah, I think Texas is going to do some great things this weekend, man.
Lando,
Yeah,
and I want you to answer your question about your excitement level, but I want to ask you something about what Sark said yesterday in his post-game presser.
Okay.
When he was asked about Alabama, and you're a pro athlete, right? Do you believe everything Sark said yesterday, that I haven't talked to my team about Alabama, number one, and that all we have to do is worry about us? My team doesn't need to worry about Alabama. We just need to worry about our execution. Do you think this is the first time that Steve Sarkisian, this is game week, right?
No.
He's going to be approaching his team and talking about Alabama, number one. And isn't that part of that Alabama, thing is knowing that you're going up against this juggernaut, the number one team in the country, 13-time national champion. Last time you played them, Colt McCoy gets injured. I feel like that game's going to go another direction. If not, but your excitement level, and then do you believe what Sark said in his post-game presser yesterday that he hasn't mentioned Alabama to his team at all?
I'll start with the second part of that question first, and I'll go ahead and say there's no chance they haven't talked about Alabama to this point. Like I already spoke about, they've been installing for over a week now and practicing and repping for how they're going to attack Alabama. So that's that. my excitement level as far as that is concerned, I can't even begin to describe or imagine it. So basically, I'll just put it to you this way. Last night, there was about 3 minutes left or whatever, and that's when we were already up 52-10. I think so it's the last drive of the game, and I'm sprinting back over to the couch to sit down and watch Cam Williams and DJ Campbell play. My wife's like, "How are you this intently watching a game that's already this out of control?" I'm like, "Babe, these are the future of the program. Like, these guys are getting their first reps. Like, I gotta watch." So
exactly.
There's still that element of it too, but then you get to go and prove yourself and kind of see how you stack up physically. Because, like I said, I maintain the stance of this team is not that much different than you athletically. And now I will also say this: I will kind of caveat that statement with, more often than not in college football, upsets against teams like Alabama, or just in general teams that are more talented than you, better programs than you, they happen early on in the season because you're not as fundamentally sound and as sharp as you will be playing as a cohesion or as a collective unit as you will be
later in the year
when it's playoff time later in the season, right? Okay, so with that out of the way, I will also say this: that 2019 LSU team, while we didn't know how good they were then, there's no way in hell Alabama is as good and as talented as that team is right now. Okay, and that Texas team in 2019 was much less talented than the Texas team that we currently have this year. Okay, so all that to say this: if you go out there like you're talking about and controlling what you can control, you can match up with this team. And if you execute, if you play mistake-free football, which I won't be betting on, by the way, you do, you can play with them, right? Because that's how you catch a sleeping giant, or how you catch a giant sleeping, is early on in the season when things are not still fine-tuned yet. That's a more experienced team. That's probably a more mentally mature team, because all those guys, they're ones that at the top of the depth chart, they've sat behind first-round picks for 2 years, right? And that factory is reloading itself. It's constant. But the crazy thing to me is Nick Saban last year said that was the reloading year for them, and they still wouldn't play in the championship.
Hey,
Crazy.
Lando, you can go back and check my tweets from after, like the national championship game, and I've said it, and people gave me a lot of hell for saying it. Alabama's going to be the most dangerous team in college football this year, because they weren't supposed to be there last year.
Right.
And let's be honest, if they don't lose both their wide receivers before the national championship game, I think they
Jameson Williams and John Metchie.
I think they win the game.
They probably
That's just
win
me.
They probably win
I'm being honest. I think they win the game if they have your two best wide receivers in the game. That's just my opinion. It is what it is.
And that's a reloading year? Come on, man.
And that's a reloading year because, and Saban says that. I don't know if that is the absolute truth. I mean, he had the number one quarterback in the country in his second year in college. And I think he says that was a reloading year because the guys who he brought in that were playmakers, like a guy like, what's the boy's name? Jameis Williamson, right?
Yeah, Jameson Williams. Yep. He
wasn't homegrown, right? He wasn't an Alabama homegrown dude that's been developed in the program. He had to go get him from the transfer portal. So they didn't have the exact depth that they usually have, which is another thing about Alabama this year. JoJo Earl has a broken foot. He's out this game.
Yeah.
Mind you, they got 5-stars all over the place. But look, Ajay Hall's not there. He's the only freshman that got snaps. And, not the only freshman, but he was one of two freshmen that got snaps in that national championship game. All right. So two of those guys, JoJo Earl, Hall, are not with Alabama right now. They still got a lot of talent, folks. It is what it is. They are Alabama. They got depth. But as far as the talent wide receiver, running back, they're good, but they're not Devontae Smith good.
No.
They're not Jalen Waddle good right now. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. That 2019 LSU team, as good as Alabama is this year, they're going to have probably 4 or 5 first-round picks, but they're not going to have Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson out there.
Yeah.
Bryce Young might be the first quarterback selected, just like Joe Burrow was, but they had K'Lavon Chason was a first-round pick. They had Derek Stingley, who they would have said would have been the number one corner taken in that draft had he been eligible. He's a true freshman that year.
Yeah.
So ridiculously talented team, even as good as Alabama is and about to be this year. They're not going to have that same level of top-tier talent. That 2019 LSU team was loaded, y'all.
Yeah,
that was ridiculous what they had.
Yeah, but that's a different time. So I don't think anybody saw that LSU team coming like that. And once they beat us in that hard game, I think that's when the lights kind of start to shine on them, and then they just took off. But I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting. I just want to see the game, man. I just want
And-
to see the
and-
game. We're 6 days away.
All right, and we'll save, and we'll allow you guys to save Bryce Young versus the Texas defense for your shows, because we covered, how we're going to approach their defense. But we'll have you guys on later this week, and we might talk Texas defense versus Alabama offense. But man, it's been a blast. This is, like I said, it's talking ball with you guys is easy. This isn't any kind of work for any of us. You guys are family. Absolutely phenomenal. Hour and 20 minutes. 155 folks in here listening to Nino's Corner of the Lando show and one half of the Lockerbie Brothers. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. There's only 89 likes. Get this thing up to 100 likes before we get off here, please.
There you go.
And again, if you have not subscribed to Texas Football Talk, please do that. If you have not subscribed to Nino's Corner, go do that. If you have not subscribed to Lando's show, please go do that. Please follow these guys on all social media platforms. I know we got hopefully YouTube by now. After the hour and 20 minutes we've been talking, has dropped the Texas versus ULM game for all us to go look at, slow down. I'm sure all of our wives love it. We spent a lot of time in front of the laptop, slowing stuff down, pausing stuff, rewatching stuff that we saw last night.
Hey,
But it's
I
Alabama.
vacuumed and mopped today, so I had no worries about this afternoon. I'm free. So
Hey, I got to get on the grill. I got to
Yes,
cook.
sir.
But I don't have to meal prep because I think it's a day off for you guys tomorrow. You guys off work?
Yep.
I'm going to grill tonight. I would be food prepping, but I don't work tomorrow, so I'll probably save all that stuff for tomorrow. So I'll probably just do some hamburgers or something crazy.
Something easy.
Nino, I like your shirt. I think I'm wearing the same exact shirt, by the way.
Are you?
Close. I got the old school. You got the new school. But thank you guys so much for attending. We really appreciate it. Go watch these guys' stuff. Again, it's Alabama week. Get fired up. Mac Brown used to have a saying, what did he say? Show up, stay late, and be loud. Show up,
and be loud.
Now, hey, start being loud. Alabama's going to be loud. Start getting loud, Texas. Start supporting your team. Because like Lando said, regardless, on Saturday at noon, they put the ball down. And we need to support our kids and get after it. So I appreciate you guys for listening. Hook 'em.